You read that right. Doctors could be a thing of the past if they don't make this crucial pivot in the age of AI. What's going on, internet? Welcome to the Granny Geek Show, where we talk all things tech, and I am just fascinated by AI, artificial intelligence. And so I'm going to be starting today a series that looks at how AI could affect and, yes, potentially destroy certain industries. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the medical industry, more specifically, doctors. Now, at first you would think being a doctor, that's got to be one of the last professions replaced by a computer, but it's actually easier than you think. Now, doctors have pretty much been around since people have been breaking themselves, and their oath to do no harm has caused endless people to put their faith and trust in the wisdom, expertise, and experience of a medical doctor. But first, a quick rudimentary explanation of what an AI even is. So traditionally, a computer will do what it's told or programmed to do in order to accomplish the objective, while an AI does this a little differently. You see, it's programmed to learn how to accomplish the objective. It's given the parameters by the programmer, yeah, so they still have programs, but then they gather information, and through that information, they find out how to accomplish the objective. And the speed at which computers can learn things allows it to take in vast amounts of information and knowledge in seconds. But how would all these things compare and apply to what a doctor does? Well, a doctor really does a ton of things, but let's try and break it down into the three core essentials that a medical doctor has to have. Number one, they have to have knowledge or expertise, right? They need to know what they're doing. They need to have read all the things that could go wrong, all the things they need to be prepared for. Number two is obvious, experience, right? Book smarts is not real world smarts. It can't be their first rodeo, otherwise we won't have that level of trust that we need to have in our physician. And finally, number three is precision, right? You can have all the knowledge and experience in the world, but say, unfortunately, if you were in an accident or you've gotten to the age where you can no longer faithfully repeat the same medical procedures, well, you're not going to be a practicing doctor much longer. So when it comes to knowledge and expertise, computers decidedly have humans beat. I mean, a brand new AI can learn more information in a few moments than a human can in their entire lifetime. They can see images and videos of different procedures happening, how they've gone right, how they've gone wrong. They can read endless books in only seconds on certain procedures, how they've been done in antiquity, how they're done now in the cutting edge of the modern age. And of course, with them not being human, they can constantly be learning, staying on the absolute bleeding edge of modern day medical research. Next, let's talk experience. Now, a human doctor would have to go to medical school and practice procedures on cadavers again and again and again in order to achieve a certain level, a degree-worthy level of finesse. Now, when it comes to an AI, and this is a really interesting distinction between humans and computers, knowledge and experience are the same thing. If the computer is properly calibrated to move its hardware in accordance with proper medical data on procedures, it doesn't have to do it a million times or even one time before it gets to the real thing. Now, of course, for people's peace of mind, it's also going to be tested on cadavers several times as well. But once it reaches that level of perfection, it will be able to maintain that indefinitely, given that it's a properly maintained machine. And speaking of machine, that brings us to number three, which is precision, which ties in with the fact that it is a machine. Doctors are already using computers in very specific, delicate procedures because machines don't need to breathe, they don't sweat, they don't get nervous, they don't shake. They can even be programmed to move with pinpoint laser sharp accuracy, eliminating any concern of accident. Of course, there's always a chance of accident with faulty programming or maybe an earthquake or somebody knocking the machine, but given how rare those things are, you're dramatically reducing your chance of incident. And as a thank you for sticking around this long, here's a bonus one. We know that money always plays into the equation. And while this technology may be very expensive to develop, hey, once this thing is streamlined, it's going to take off. They'll make back their investment and then profit pretty much indefinitely from a doctor that never gets gets tired, never wants to be paid, and theoretically never retires. Okay, so it looks pretty grim, right? So what's the pivot that could save doctors' careers? I think there are actually two options. Number one, they can just get jobs overseeing the machines that are doing the procedures. There's always a human that needs to oversee these computers, because if they make mistakes, somebody's got to be able to push the red button, shut the whole thing down. So that kind of expertise, I think, will still be very much needed for many, many, many decades to come. The second option is, I mentioned earlier that many people put their trust in doctors, of course, but there are many people who do not, and those people are still going to perhaps need good old-fashioned medical advice, whether it's natural medicine or pharmaceuticals. I would think that doctors would have to be well-versed on both of those things in order to care for patients who choose not to go the techno-pharmaceutical route. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor myself, but I do know computers, and these are some pretty common sense arguments that seem to have a clear path of actually happening. So, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if there are any doctors watching, what do you think of all this? Is there something that I missed? Please enlighten me on this information. Like the video if you like it, and stay tuned for more videos on how AI will disrupt and potentially even destroy different industries. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granny Geek Show.